Welcome to another edition of Dan Frequently Asked Questions. You may be wondering what I'm wearing. I'm wearing scrubs of the King Ahmad American Mission Hospital in Bahrain, where I'm stationed and run the Department of Baromedicine, which includes hyperbaric oxygen therapy and diving and aviation medicals. I'm going to tell you a story of a diver who happens to be a physician who went diving in the Red Sea and did at least 11 things wrong before developing symptoms that were significant enough for him to arrive at our emergency unit and receive recompression. Let me tell you all about it after this. So here's the story. We have a 31-year-old physician who is very fit, runs marathons, going to the Red Sea for 4 days. Arrives the first day and towards the afternoon does a dive between 4 and 5 at a depth of 30 meters. He arrives at the surface and after getting out of his dive gear, he goes for a 6-kilometer run. He then consumes 4 beers, 4 shots, goes to bed, and the next morning at 10 o'clock, he does a dive to 30 meters for an hour, and in between waits only an hour before doing a third dive to approximately 32 meters. I say approximately because this diver was not wearing a dive computer of his own, but was following his dive buddy's dive computer. Not only that, but on the third dive, he actually descended further than his buddy, to the extent that his buddy had to alert him that he had dived deeper than planned and actually had to ask him to return to the same level that the buddy had been diving. They made their way back to the surface, and within 30 minutes, he noticed an unsteadiness and, as he described it, a slowness. This continued through the remainder of the day, and he took it quietly the next day, up to 6 o'clock, after which he decided to climb a 2,300 meter mountain, which he did from 6 to 1 o'clock in the morning, waiting for 4 o'clock when the sun was going to rise, so that he would see the sunrise. He described walking up the mountain unusually difficult, and he had to use a walking stick to steady himself. At 4 o'clock he returned, and by 9 o'clock he was back at the surface. Then, 2 o'clock that afternoon, he started a series of flights, first to Alexandria, and from there to Bahrain. That was the previous evening before arriving at the emergency unit. In the interim, he had developed gastroenteritis, so he was nauseous, he wasn't eating or drinking fluids adequately, and he actually came to the emergency department not because of symptoms of decompression illness, according to himself, but rather as a result of abdominal pain. The abdominal pain was eventually attributed to a viral gastroenteritis, but importantly, the sense of just being slow, punch-drunk, and even inappropriate was the manifesting feature. To give you an example, while I was asking him about things that were very significant to his health, he actually kept answering the phone and even spoke while I was busy with the examination. Now, we're talking about a doctor here. The patient was a doctor. If anyone would understand etiquette, one would suspect a doctor would. He clearly was not himself. Oh, and by the way, he had developed bilateral subconjunctival hemorrhages as a result of not equalizing his mask readily, because he found it so easy to equalize that he ended up neglecting his mask. We don't think that contributed to his decompression illness, but it just gives one a sense that there wasn't an awareness of safety during this dive. So after speaking to him for 45 minutes, it became clear to me that this individual was suffering from constitutional and actually mild neurological decompression illness. We proceeded to treat him on a US Navy treatment table 6, and within the first 20 minutes, there was already awakening, if you want to call it, and his neurological function had cleared to the extent that now, for the first time, he realized the gravity of the situation. We continued his treatment profile without any difficulties. There had been no pulmonary barotrauma, equalizing was easy, and at the end of his treatment, he clearly confessed to all of us that he felt a whole lot better. Mind you, his parting words to me were, "Does it matter if I have another drink of alcohol tonight?" What I told him was, "I need to see you tomorrow, and I don't want to need to distinguish whether it's residual decompression illness or a hangover. So please cut it out and see me tomorrow." He never came for the appointment, and I have no idea what's happened to him. It's now 3 days after this happened, and still we have no idea what the ultimate outcome is. I'm hoping that this individual does and has recovered fully. We did reprimand him and, of course, advise him not to dive within at least a week, and actually have a follow-up diving physical 30 days later before returning to diving, if only to educate him on the various mistakes he made. So what I'd like you to do after listening to this is jot down in the comments column the aspects of this dive, and you may need to rewind and just listen to it again, the aspects of this dive and what followed the dive, all of which would be considered risk factors for decompression illness. I'd be fascinated to hear whether you pick up on all of them or maybe even some we missed. So that's it for now. Looking forward to your comments. Until next time, please, safe diving.